Beelzebub, Beelzebub, Beelzebub. There he is. Hello again, everybody. Sebastian Keynes here with another Watch Your Realms video. Here I am in the test server for this presentation. I got to try out Beelzebub. Beelzebub is a magic cultist mage. He has already been released in the Forerunner server, so some players already have him in their accounts. He will soon come to the global server once everything is sorted out regarding any updates that are being hung up right now. Let's go quickly over his kit. His kit, his corrupted swarm, which is this very large area. I mean, we're talking about 4-tile extension, three across, where he will, once you activate it, he will summon these putrid flies. These putrid flies are going to deal AoE damage, and they also kind of take some of the attributes from the hero. So the more damage stats you load up to him, the putrid flies will be able to do what they need to do in terms of damage. But at the same time that these putrid flies are dealing damage, they inflict slow, and they come in handy, especially for certain content. I'm going to highlight 2 examples for you here in a minute. The other key thing that this hero offers, and this is why I like to see him as kind of a support mage. He does excellent damage, but it's not gonna like be Bierna's type of damage, right? Where it's just you're going to be clearing stuff from the game. But he's a support mage. He's kind of a souped up Mary in a sense, because during the ultimate you will also get some inspiration onto you. It's 50% of his inspiration, okay? And so it is based on his attack. Now his attack base is fairly slow, fairly low, 2307, which is lower than Dolores's. And you know, I thought about it, and it's like, if I were to compare Dolores versus him, I mean, you can do it mathematically. You can kind of get an idea. Okay, he may not give me as much as Dolores, but you got to think about too that mages have different artifacts from what the healer class do. So it's kind of comparing apples and oranges sometimes. Now, in this regard, though, if you think about it, there are many ways that you can possibly gear this hero. And I want to tell you right now that I tested him out in a Soulbone Arcana set. But as I got to toy around with him and trying to see how fast I could get that rage back, if I had a good Mana Spring set here in the test server that had some attack stats, damage stats in it, I would have used that. Because then I think he would have been very, very helpful in the 2 areas where I played him. I think the timings wouldn't have been so tight. But I know that some of you are probably even going to try him in inspiration set as well, because, you know, it'll just additional attack. You'll get additional boost. But given that he does a little bit of damage to complement that inspiration, I don't think that you need to put him in a set like that. But if you want to, you can do it. So for my demonstration, I'm just Soulbone Arcana set because I wanted to put him in a damage type setup, and at the same time do what he is capable of doing, which is add inspiration to our heroes. The other thing too is that if these heroes, our allies, are within the range, he will reduce the attack interval. So essentially, you're going to get more basics out of him, of your allies. If, you know, once you play around and tighten up the attack intervals. So early mid game, this is very key. End game, once you start getting into the 400 speeds, and if you're trying to push that last little bit, he can probably help you out. And also the adjacent putrid flies by 30%. So it's big. This is big, decreasing the attack interval. The other thing that I really like about him, though, is that in addition to this putrid flies dealing AoE damage, we're getting magic damage vulnerability applied to our enemies This is key. This is key, especially in content where we're going to rely magic damage. So he is going to be very good in that regard. Now, if we go through his awakenings, one of the things that you're going to learn is that with his A1, you're going to get more damage to those units that have the magic vulnerability that is being inflicted by the Plague of Ruin. He gets a little bit of base attack, a little bit more with his second awakening. His third awakening, here, I think in the demonstrations that I'm going to show you would have helped a lot in terms of the timings. You get more rage the more basic attacks that he does. You're getting 2% restored. These at A3, his ultimate is going to come back around really, really quickly. For my demonstrations, I'm only using him at A0 though. You get a reduced cost of 2 with his A4. And in his A5, if the target receives 1 instant of Plague and Ruin, within that 3 seconds, they will then take more true damage equal to 100% of the hero's attack. So you want to basically load him up with as much attack as you can, which is what I tried doing here on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side. And of course, I give him the Warlord set. So this is exactly how I'm going to test them out. Like I said, in the situations at A0, what I would wanted his rage to come back, or his ultimate to come back a little bit quicker, I would have tried him on a Mana Spring set. Unfortunately, I don't have a good one here in the test server. Okay, so there are going to be 2 areas here where I'm going to show you that he will do phenomenally. He will help you clear this content. GR1, that's a given, okay? And instead of making this video too long, I'm going to bypass it. But yes, he will help you in GR1. You can put him on the side with your major dealing a damage dealer. You can team him up. If you want to team him up with Dolores, you go ahead and team him up with Dolores, but I don't think you will need to, because he will also deal a little bit of damage, and he can inflict slow on the units as well, so that will help a lot. And then remember, he has the magic vulnerability. But for my examples, I decided to bring him here in AMR 22 because his range is perfect for this. He has that 4 front, 3 extended, right? So this is exactly what I decided to do, to bring him over here. Now, here's the thing with this. The one thing that I would tell you is I brought in Dahlia for this, and I'm also bringing in Kriya. I think it's Kriya that decided to put up here. Yeah, that is Kriya, actually. So Kriya is the one that I decided to bring in to test for this, because as I saw, that inspiration just boosted her, and at the same time I was able to boost Dahlia, so they were able to handle these lackeys very, very well. Now, don't try this at home. I tried it without a tank on the bottom lane because I was really hoping that Dahlia and Beelzebub here, with their slow, the Putreflies and everything that we're compounding, would just slow these guys down as much as they could as I was trying and testing this out. And you can just see that their speed is just crawling. They're crawling, so we have a chance to eliminate these guys without the tank here. So I got really, really close. But if you're going to try this, make sure you have optimal gear on your Dahlia, okay? So you can kind of see it here. I activated the ultimate there a little bit early, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I could come back around to it quickly for the second wave here. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm going to activate it early, primarily also because we have Dahlia with her flowers kind of extending out a little bit. So let's start doing a little bit of damage. So now the units here are entering Beelzebub's field, so they're getting slowed, they're getting the Putreflies, they're getting magic vulnerability. That gives Kriya and Dahlia an excellent chance to take these guys down. And you can see they're not having any trouble, especially after activating a couple of the ultimates with the Soulbone Arcana sets. So that's essentially what he is able to do and really power up your mages in this regard, or any type of magic damage dealer here in this example here. So our Cultist did not have any problems with him being part of the team here. So you can kind of see him, and he's contributing to the damage as well. So that's the nice thing about it, is that he is doing two things. He's supporting us and he's dealing a little bit of damage. All right, so let me, so I think I sped this up a little bit. So again, here we go again. His ultimate is activated. Now that they're entering the field, right? They're getting that magic vulnerability applied to them. So now I have Kriya and her crows just dealing damage. And I also have Dahlia just doing her thing. And it's impressive how much I was able to slow them down, both with Dahlia and his Putreflies. So they're just crawling. So that is pretty much AMR 22. So he'll definitely help you there in that regard. Now, here I could have sped this up a little bit. I could put Silas up top, just finish the boss off, but I just decided to let Dahlia and Kriya do their thing, and Beelzebub here with his one last ultimate, and just take them down themselves. Okay, so that's pretty much it in terms of what I was able to discern from that, and he definitely just that, and it gave me a wider area in comparison to what Dolores has, right? Because her Dolores has a smaller range. So at least in this one, I was able to add a little bit more range and bring in more heroes to help me clear the content. So you can see here, he did decent damage. He helped out, but he definitely powered up both Dahlia and Kriya here to help me clear AMR 22. The next clip that I'm going to show you actually had to do with Gear Dungeon 110. Now, this is a setup that I typically, that I use for both my accounts to clear the stage because I have Bjerna, okay? And the way that I would do this is that I would actually place Dolores behind Bjerna, okay, in this setup here. So I would place her right here. And to kind of help Bjerna slow things down a little bit, you can put somebody like Mary here or like Rid. But in this situation, I used Beelzebub to do both things for me. One, slow things down. Two, provide the inspiration that Bjerna is going to need. Not only that, he is also adding magic vulnerability into the equation. Same thing that Mary was doing for us. So here I am, standard setup. It can be really annoying. The timings are really, really tight here, at least in this current setup, okay? So keep that in mind. I have them in the Soulbana kind of set, so the timings are really, really tight. So here, one of the things, I start seeing this wave kind of move here, so I'm going to activate his ultimate right now. That's right. It does extend out a little bit, but the reason that I did that is because I wanted to make sure that I had it again for that second wave that is coming right here on the left-hand side. Okay, so here we go. They're entering the field. They're getting magic vulnerability. Those Putreflies are doing damage. Bjerna then just finishes them off. Now, set up for the next wave. Here we go again. Let me see here. You all know kind of what the deal is up top. So let's fast forward a little bit because the movement of, you can kind of get an idea here of how quickly his rage is building. A3, this would have filled a lot quicker. I also, of course, have Ella1. I realized that she's also helping in that regard. But you just kind of get an idea here of how much of this rage. Now, the other thing that is helping too as well is that I have the Tome of Horror on him. So as he's doing the basics, he also gets some rage. So here, as you can see how tight that was, finally I get the second one in, and Bjerna is able to then finish it off. That slow there also helped, right? If he did not have that slow, they would rush right through the core. So, all right, here we go again. You know what happens here, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I want that third wave to start coming in. There they are. There is that third wave, and now I'm going to start getting ready for them. So again, to you, this might seem simple, but one of the things that I was trying to keep the track of is top, because I needed to make sure that things were getting activated at the appropriate time. Bottom, because I wanted to time. So as soon as I saw that bar right? Because that healing, that passive that Volca has, in terms of making sure that if they get stopped, they start to heal. So that's when I decided, because I want to make sure that I have it for the 4th round, I'm going to activate it here. So, like I said, if you have a Mana Spring set that you can put on him, this will probably build up a little bit quickly, so you can kind of work on your timings when you're actually, if you do decide to use them in this regard. So then again, Vierna had the inspiration. I was able to then use her ultimate. She finished it up. All right, now let's go to the last one here. So this is now, remember, the 2nd to 3rd has a larger gap than the 3rd to the 4th wave. So right now, I'm hoping that his rage comes back quicker. Now, the only reason that I'm putting Morgan here on top is just kind of a backup in case something starts to slip and maybe she can do some damage. That's essentially what it is. So as soon as it is ready, there he goes. They're entering the field, and I'm going to try to time things here to make sure that everybody's on the field, everybody's getting applied the magic vulnerability, and we finish it off. He kind of did 2 things for me that 2 other heroes were doing in my previous setups. With Dolores and the inspiration, and then Mary or Greed to make sure that things were getting slowed down. So he did phenomenal for this content here. And like I said, there are ways to work this to make sure that you can get back to his ultimate quicker. Of course, Awaken 3, that will help a lot, because his rage will get built up quicker with his basic attacks. But we do have something like the Mana Spring set that would also allow us to do that. And you can probably get some attack stats, some damage type stats into that set if you can, if you have it. Could you do Invigoration as well? You could. Just make sure that you have maybe like a Rage Regen Bangle and try doing that. I don't know how much damage you're going to get out of that, but you're going to get extra attack. Now, you saw here that even with the Soulbone Arcana set that I gave him, that he did give enough of a boost to Bierna to be able to take the Sycophants down. So that was big, and it was big key for him to be able to do that. So again, to compare him directly to Dolores, it's hard for me to do that comparison. I mean, if you put him in a vacuum and you do the math, you can say, oh, okay, Dolores might be better. But then at the same time, think of the artifacts that we have available as well, right? So with Dolores, we could put her in a Scarab. We're going to get a little bit of rage. We're going to get a boost in attack. So probably we're going to get more inspiration out of that. But in the example here for somebody like a mage, if we would need his rage to come back even quicker, then we have the horror, the book, the artifact, right? If you want a more attack build down to him, you can actually place a leveled Tear of Twilight. That's a big boost in there, right? So it all depends on what context you want to use them. Who do you want to bring in? If you just have like a little small area to cover and Dolores can do it at 5 cost, perfect, do it. Here at 10 cost, you can then get a larger area. And you saw him take not only Dolores' spot here, but he took somebody else's spot as well, like Mary's or Agreed. So you can kind of then free up that one extra slot and said, well, maybe in my situation, I need an extra tank because my tank on top is dying. Or you want somebody to help commit on the top, and you can put Valkyria if you want and start dealing damage in it. So I just kind of had that free slot to be able to rotate things around as well. So he does free up that. That's what he is essentially made for here, to kind of free you up from having to combine Dolores with somebody else. But if you want to talk numbers as to who is the better inspiration hero, you can do that in the vacuum and do that, and you can possibly then still lean Dolores aside, which is fine. But in the end, just take into account what this hero is able to do and how much more of a coverage area then he can give you. And then you can start then thinking, all right, I'll cut my losses on some of the inspiration for the larger area, or vice versa. I need the bigger inspiration, so I'm going to go with Dolores instead of him for that particular content. But like I said, because of his range here, I like him for both these areas, AMR 2022 and here Gear Dungeon number 1. Yes, so I gave you 2 instances here where Beelzebub is going to help you in terms of clearing content for the game. There might be other areas where you can bring him in and toy around with him. Now, for the guild bosses, yeah, you could probably try to use them, but unfortunately, one of the things is the lords, right? Because sometimes with Dolores, you can even bring an Infernal Lord if you have Soul Cadence or Twinfin. It would even boost a little bit more. Sometimes you don't even bring a Lord with Dolores, so you can kind of apply the same mentality here with Beelzebub if you want. But the thing here with just remember that it is really hard sometimes to bring in a Lord from the Cultist faction. Now, in Drexchasm, you possibly won't use it, right? Because you can just use it as 8 out of 10. So you can probably just put that Lord in an Imbig set and then use it to Imbig somebody and then put him in the spot where you can get coverage everywhere. Especially if maybe you want to bring 4 or 5 fighters into the field, right? Because of his long range. So if that's something that you want to try out, you can definitely try out and see if you can then boost that damage a little or is complementary to that of what Dolores can do in that regard. Now, remember, in terms of rage, regeneration, it all depends. I mean, it all depends on the gear that you put him in as well, right? So if you wanted to, and for some reason you have a rage regen bangle that is sold on Arcana in your account, you can do that as well. Or you can try him out in invigoration set. So this hero, I think, will allow you flexibility on the build and how to use them. For my purpose here, I just decided to see if it can do both kind of a damage at the same time that providing that support that his kit allows us to do it. So very nice hero. I really do like how they set him up. I like the aesthetic as well, right? With the 4 arms and the fact that he's a bug, he just fills the Cultist faction schematic really well. So it's a very good hero. I think that if you go and decide to go for him just to add him to the account, or you close to pity to try to, hopefully hit on his 15x, I would say do whatever your heart desires. Analyze your account and ask yourself, will this guy give me that boost that I need to clear content? I would go for him, especially if I need to tackle something like AMR 20 and 22. He will be a big boost to that. As always, if you appreciated the content of this video, please do hit like and subscribe on your way out, and I will see you all in the next Watch Over Realms video.